DC Multiverse!
They said it can't be done, that it would never happen. Okay, no, never mind. That was me. I said that I wasn't going to review these figures, but here they are. I'm reviewing the Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn, Bloodsport, Polkadot Man, and Peacemaker. I saw these guys at Toys R Us, at EB Games, and I was like, "Nyet! I'm not going to buy them. I don't need a Peacemaker for my collection." So I was all like, "Nah, boys, I'm not going to review this set." But if you remember, I was always very excited about the prospects of owning me a Polkadot Man. So here we are. I got the whole wave and the King Shark. We're going to briefly review each figure and build the collect-to-build King Shark. Let's jump into it first off with the Polkadot Man, who comes with the head and gut of King Shark, as well as his polka dots accessories, an extra wristband, and his goggles. Just in case you're wondering, here's a closer look at the trading card from the front, and here we can see it from behind. Polkadot Man was easily my favoritist character in the movie, and this figure looks a lot like my favoritist character in the movie. And the fact that he was my most favoritist character in the movie is absolute genius, that they were able to take a character that is so obscure, barely even referenced in the comics, and turn him into an immediate fan favorite. Well, an immediate Brad favorite. Up close and personal, his suit, Polkadot Man's, his uniform, is certainly the most ridiculous looking. It's covered in polka dots, but it's also the most interesting looking for me. And as always, and I'm going to say this throughout the video multiple times, I love the fact that all these figures have texture. Here's one of Polkadot Man's wrist bracers here, and then on the other side, there's actually a second wrist bracer here for interchanging. Let's see if we can change it here just for the video. Oh goodness, his hand is like really stuck on there. The existing one just slides off. Just slide. You're making me into a liar. And it would appear like the other one just slides over. No, that's not right. The insides of these are exactly the same except for the nub on the top. And I don't really care enough. I'm just going to put that one back on, put his hand back, and just say that, well, this is probably not a very important accessory. But the melted Wonder Bread bags that he shoots at people, now this is a pretty fun accessory. It just goes around his wrist, and then he's all like... And just before we stick these goggles back on there, look at the face. That actually kind of looks like the actor it's meant to portray. I love his helmet. It looks like a crash helmet. Here, let's put the goggles over his eyes. And this is what he looks like on sunny days. And everything's red. Now let's just take a super quick look at Polkadot Man's articulation. Torso. Nyet. Head sculpt goes round and bibble bobbles a reasonable okay-ish amount. Arms. Rounded hinges. Bicep swivels. Arms that crunch up a lot right at the elbows and at the wrist. You've got the groin that we all know they're gonna have, and his knees also mash up quite a bit so that he can, I don't know, do that. And also, does he have much rotation? Well, none to speak of. We could just stretch him out here for a second like he's doing the can-can. You've also got an ankle that's on a rounded hinge that is fairly useless because the boots get in the way. And then you've got toe articulation. And next we move on to Bloodsport, who comes with both halves of the torso of the collect-to-build King Shark, as well as two swords. Man, I really wish that he came with his Transformer GoBot gun. That was kind of central to the character. He did a lot more shooting than he did slicing and dicing. The trading card, here's what it looks like from the front, same as the back of the box, and here is the trading card from behind. And the figure itself looks pretty good. It's highly detailed. Not a whole lot going on there as far as paint applications go. It's just navy blue with the sparkly orangish color paint. Filling in the details here and making out the details there. A little bit confusing if I'm being honest. This is a really strange look for Bloodsport. Not Todd's fault. This is the design of the character. We all know that this is supposed to be really just a stand-in for Deadshot because Will Smith wouldn't come back and play the character in the movie. So we got Idris Elba, who did a fantastic job. And if I'm being honest, I'm actually more stoked that we got Idris Elba because I think that he just suited the role of Bloodsport really, really well. Having the figure shows me things that I didn't know about the character, like both of these wrist gauntlets are actually different, and I never noticed that while watching the movie. Same thing with the details on his legs. Down here is the same, but up top we have different details. Isn't that because different parts of his Transformer GoBot gun are attached to his suit? And yeah, I think that's what it is. Here's a look at his helmet, face mask, up close and personal. Is it just me, or does this really look like it has been inspired by the aliens? I'm glad that the basic figure comes like this, and not with the non-helmeted face sculpt like this, because, well... Okay, now let's check out Bloodsport's articulation. I think he's going to have the same in the torso as what Polkadot Man has. I mean, of course, the waist is going to have articulation. You can see the suit underneath his battle vest here, but really, up here, niet! It's just the waist, and the suit is going to really get in the way of that. The head, well, it goes a bibble-bobble round like that. That's not terrible, not super great. I'd say that's average. And then we have the rounded hinge in the armpit here with the butterfly segment, which does a little bit of hiding the seam, but it keeps getting stuck up in there. So I feel like it's mostly useless. You got a bicep swivel. You got the crunchy double jointed elbows that do that. You're looking at it, dude. And then you've got the groin. We know they've all got one like this. We know what it can do. A little bit of that motion, but nothing too great. Crunchy double jointed knees that don't crunch up as good. Not quite as good as Polkadot Man's, but they're still better than single jointeds. And just like Polkadot Man, you've got a lot of boot getting in the way of the articulation there. And then you've also got toe articulation. And next we have Peacemaker, whom comes with both of the arms for King Shark, as well as the trading card, which here's what it looks like close up, and then also from behind. And he also comes with this sword, but no firearms. I'm seeing a trend here. The figure looks pretty cool. It actually looks a lot more like John Cena than I'd originally given it credit for. That's mostly because he's got this giant toilet bowl stuck to the top of his head. So really there's not a lot of John Cena there to go around. Just the eyes and then the nose and mouth and chin. And just looking at that bum chin, oh, can you hear it? Can you hear the music? And just like with Bloodsport, I gotta say, I'm glad that I got this version of Peacemaker because there is an unmasked version, and, well, brace yourself. He's supposed to look like that, which doesn't look like John Cena. Hang on, I gotta scroll my Instagram to get to the next picture. Ooh, station wagons. I actually follow a page on Instagram called Station Wagon Society because I am in love with station wagons. Here, check this out. Look at this bad beast. Wood paneling. And if you're like station wagons with wood paneling, no way, look at this beast. It had the backwards facing seat. You could sit in this seat and pull faces at the people behind you at the stoplights. And this one is a thing of sheer beauty. Ah yes, Ahsoka the Geek. How you doing, buddy? Just gotta scroll through here. He's very active through, every time I see this, screw you, Amazon. My order never came through. It got pushed back to a later date. But I'm happy for Ahsoka. Definitely. Okay, where are we? I'm looking for a specific picture, but he's really active, so it's going to be much farther back. Okay, here it is. Here's his post. And... hold on. Okay, it looks like if John Cena went to the beach and got a caricature of his face done. So yes, I'm definitely glad that I got this version close up, and I'm gonna, just keep humping a dead horse here. You can see all the textures in his suit. I love it. I almost dropped him. There is nothing that makes me happier sometimes when looking at a figure than seeing that extra sculpted detail and having the figure not just look completely smooth. Oh my goodness. Is that... John Cena's got a wedgie. So it makes sense that he comes with a finger like this. I mean, he doesn't come with any guns, so it can't be a trigger finger. It must be a wedgie-picking finger. There's the dove, his dove emblem on his chest. But fantastic, I can't wait for the Peacemaker show to come out. I'm going to watch every single episode of that one and laugh my way all the way to the toilet with explosive diarrhea, because he's just such a great character, and the show is set to be such a ridiculous fun time. And exactly how articulated is he? Well, the same as all the rest. You can see like the texture down there in the lower half of his torso. When he moves, it's almost like when they move, all their shirts come untucked. It does, I mean, there is certainly some articulation that the figures have, but it just looks weird, right? Like you wouldn't want to pose him like that and then have that big chunk of like openness. It just looks strange. And up here in the torso, we're just going to go with Nyet because of the great big rubber tunic he's wearing, the rubber piece he's wearing. Down here, rounded hinges, of course. No thing that would approximate a butterfly that I can see in there whatsoever. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, and those are of the really crunchy variety. His chrome dome head, actually, that's very good. That is very good. Good job. Oh goodness, he doesn't even have a hinge there. It's just a ball joint. And then of course, you've got a wrist with the little rounded hinge. They've all got that. I do think I've missed that with the rest of them. We all know they got them anyway. And then we got the groin here. Yep, that's what, for those of you who was wanting to know what John Cena's groin looks like, there it is. You got a little bit of this. Not a whole lot to write home about, but there is some. And then the double jointed knees, mash them, crunch them. That's all right. Perfect for kicking someone in the junk. And then you've got the rounded hinge here in the foot with toe articulation. So it'll pivot, it'll move, and he definitely gets more posability than the previous two figures. And now on to our final of the four figures before we put the collect to build King Shark together, and that would be Harley Quinn with her javelin from Javelin Man. Here's what the javelin looks like up close, just in case you were wondering. And here is what the trading card looked like up close. And then there's the back. You can see what her trading card looks like from behind. And Harley Quinn, of course, comes with the legs, well, the whole lower half of the body, really, for King Shark. And, you know, she's not a terrible looking figure. I've already said this a few times on different videos. I would not have chosen this to be the figure that I made of Harley Quinn. Yes, I understand that she wore this for most of the movie, so, you know, I suppose it's prudent that this is what was chosen. Although I will go to my grave thinking that it would have been a much better choice to choose her black and red uniform that she wears closer to the beginning of the movie, because A, it lends itself a whole lot more to action figure form and the functionality thereof, and the black and red does a really good job of being a modern take on Harley's classic color scheme. However, her wearing the dress after she ripped off the bottom half is entirely accurate to the movie, and it doesn't look terrible. It's really thick rubber, and I knew this was going to be something that would be problematic for the articulation, which we'll see in just a little bit here, but the figure looks good. I think that for her face, that looks pretty accurate to Margot Robbie as far as like a mass-produced face sculpt goes. And she is absolutely covered in head to toe with tatties. She's got the one right here on her chest here. She's got the forearm tattoo covered in diamonds. That one is perhaps just a little bit sloppy. And then she's got the monkey on her shoulder here. No, it was not a monkey. As you saw there, right? It was just so small that I thought it was a monkey, but holy crap, I gotta get my eyes checked. Either way, I think that that's supposed to be like the back of a topless woman popping out of the top of a J. I think that's what it's supposed to be. On the back, we got property of no one. And of course, on her legs, she's got what I can only assume, I can't remember, I think that was her kill count, and then she's got pudding cups, along with another Joker, Jester Skull, and P, plus H. Puddin' plus Harley. Possibly my favorite thing about this figure, though, is her boots. I love these combat boots that she nicks off of a soldier that she kills. As for how articulated she is, I'm gonna look at this right off the bat and say probably not much. The head, we know that's gonna be pretty good. Oh, that is very good. And her little black and red pigtails, they just move nicely out of the way because they're made out of a soft rubber, and so we get quite a bit of that kind of motion. Up here in the armpits, you can see the rounded hinge. You got the butterfly thingamajiggy. She's also got a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows for crunching up, rounded hinge in the wrist. What does she have in the torso? Ooh, this is gonna be, oh, when you crunch that right up, you can hear it clicking. Did you hear it click? Oh, I don't want to push it too much. I don't really like the idea of that. And then look at that, it changed the shape of her suit. Now she's got a hump, like she's bloated from having a really large beef and spaghetti dinner. Below the belt, if we just take a little peek, quit looking up her can, you pervs. She's got the same kind of articulation. Really, really tight though. Nothing as far as that. And she can't really spread her legs that far apart or back and forth. There's not a whole lot of motion there. Double jointed knees, but if you can't really, move your legs from the thigh that much, it kind of makes the double jointed part of the knees a little bit of a moot point. You don't really need them at that point. And then of course you've got, is there anything at the top of the boot? Nope, nothing at the top of the boot. So yeah, then of course you've got the rounded hinge right here. That is very good, as well as it's going to pivot and have the toe articulation. Okay, now that we've looked at all the figures, there is only one thing left to do. And that is to put together the King Shark. So we got the torso right here. Judging by this fin, this is clearly the back. So I'm gonna stick this arm in there like that. And I'm gonna stick this one in here like that. That's kind of fun that we can actually see where it goes. And then we're gonna stick the chest together like that. Ooh, things are coming together. Here's his gut. Let's stick his gut onto the body. Oh, that looks like a face. Looks like Jabba the Hutt. It's Pizza the Gut. Okay. Yeah. And then we have the legs and the torso. Let's just... And one last thing. We have to give him his head. So let's stick that on there. All right. There you go, buddy. And there we have it. Hey, look. Hand. Yes, that's right, King Shark. Okay, now stand still. You gotta give you your glam shots. We gotta show people what you look like. Oh boy, I really hope that he doesn't come apart during the articulation segment. All right, King Shark he's absolutely ginormous. He's a fairly large fella. Don't believe me? Well, let's just stand the Peacemaker next to him. Look at that. Peacemaker's like, dude, you're huge. Who makes your shorts? Nah, Batman could still kick his ass, though. Because preparations. And I'm Batman. Okay, so it's actually been a couple days since I recorded the end of the King Shark footage, and I decided to come back and re-record it because there's been some new developments. So the figure looks the part. I have to give it looks the part marks. It looks like King Shark in the movie, and he's going to look great on your shelf as a posable statue. But that is essentially where the good stuff, the praise, ends for this collectible, which is really sad. I really hate having to say that, but I do need to point out that, first of all, the inevitable, and I said this in the first time that I recorded it that you won't see, is that he does have articulation up here and down here at the knee. However, these great big rubber shorts, they just get in the way. Like, there's no posing him. See, I pulled as hard as I could. You can see there's an articulation point there in the knee, but it ain't worthwhile to even try because you'll see what happens. Oh, bother. Now I gotta get it back on there. Now, because of that, it actually makes all of these articulation points completely useless. There's no point in trying to articulate the ankles or the toe, any kind of, I mean, maybe you could get away with sort of turning his feet a little bit, but if you can't turn the legs, if you can't make the legs articulate, then it makes the ankle articulation kind of useless. He does have very good arm articulation. So, I mean, if you just want him to stand there and, like, you know, eat people or whatever, he's got elbow articulation that goes not 90 degrees. However, once we get through the articulation segment, I do need to point out that there are some very important things to take into account. His articulation is very tight at the moment. Wrist, twisty twist. So he has, you know, the basic articulation of a McFarlane Toys figure. You got the head that goes like that's not too terrible. It's on a ball joint, and of course the mouth is articulated. Oh, it's tight though. Hold on. There we go. You got the mouth that's articulated, and of course you can see the torso articulation here, right up in the chest and down in the shorts. There's articulation points. You got to be careful how you pose them because it'll look really weird and unnatural. But the real problem is not the articulation. The real issue is that when you use the articulation, like I just had him at the table and I'm turning his body, and if it's an articulation point, you should be able to use it. So I was using the articulation points and posing him around and getting ideas of what kind of poses I wanted to put him in while I was eating my Fruit Loops. And this is what I noticed. Right here, the lip of his torso articulation leaves deep scuffs, scratches in the torso. And it just is what it is. It's a problem with this shell being too hard. And you get the same issue down here in the arms. You can see some scuffage there. And here there's some scuffage. Now, that's not so bad. Most people aren't looking down inside of his armpits. But we also have another serious point where there's scuffage, and that's underneath, right here. His chin has all kinds of paint scuffage. So, what really should have happened is this whole torso should have been a case of harder rubber. And then the inside guts that hold the arms should have been plastic, but there's no reason that this should have been plastic. Because it's plastic, it actually ends up damaging the pieces that are connected to it when you try to move them. Which really sucks because I really, really wanted to like this King Shark figure a lot more. I'm so glad that I didn't buy it single carded. Otherwise, I'd have been pissed. So in lieu of that, what kind of mark could I give this wave of DC Multiverse figures from McFarlane Toys? I would say that King Shark's problem here... Oh, I want to point out, I did include a gun. It didn't come with Peacemaker. I put the gun there because I wanted him to have a firearm. I would give this entire wave, in lieu of King Shark kind of being a little sucky, I would say I'd give it a 7.5. Which is not terrible. I mean, certainly there's some great characters in this wave. It certainly has a lot of really good high points, but that King Shark collectible being such a letdown in that regard, it's definitely going to pull it down. But I really like the Peacemaker. Polkadot Man is fantastic. Harley Quinn's face sculpt is really great. And, you know, Bloodsport is Bloodsport. I don't know what to say about him. If you are thinking about cherry picking just a few figures from this wave and you're not concerned with completionism or putting together the collect-to-build King Shark, then my two favorite would be Peacemaker and Polkadot Man. Those are the two that I certainly wouldn't let slip through my fingers if you see them out in the wild. But the whole wave is worth getting as long as you know what you're getting into with this collect-to-build King Shark. Anyway, those are my views, insights, and observations for my late review of the McFarlane Toys The Suicide Squad wave of action figures. Hopefully you found this to be an enjoyable, insightful, useful waste of time for the afternoon, and if not, well, I'm sorry. I failed you. And I'll try better next time. Have a DC day, everybody, and take care.